The knocking always happened at exactly 2:17 a.m. Not around 2:17 exactly. At first I thought it was tree branches. Honestly, I wanted it to be tree branches. The house had belonged to my grandfather before he died. Small place, middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods and empty farmland. After he passed, my mom asked if I'd stay there temporarily while we figure out what to do with the property. I agreed mostly because I needed a break from my apartment anyway. At first, the place felt peaceful. Quiet nights, cold air, no traffic noise. The kind of silence city people think they want until they actually experience it. The bedroom I slept in was upstairs facing the backyard, and behind the backyard, nothing. Just woods stretching for miles. The first night I heard the knocking, it barely woke me up. 3 soft taps against the window. I remember opening my eyes slightly and checking the clock beside the bed. 2:17 a.m. I figured wind or branches caused it and immediately fell back asleep. The second night, same thing. 3 taps. 2:17 a.m. That got my attention a little, mostly because there weren't any trees close enough to hit the window. Still, old houses make noise. I convinced myself that's all it was. Then on the third night, the knocking changed. Instead of random tapping, it sounded deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, evenly spaced, like someone standing outside the glass. I remember lying completely still in bed, staring toward the dark window. Every instinct in my body told me not to look directly at it, which honestly sounds ridiculous now, but in that moment, the fear felt completely primal. The knocking came again. 3 slow knocks. I finally grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam hit the window instantly. Nothing outside. Just darkness and my own reflection. I laughed at myself afterwards. Actually laughed. Then rolled over and went back to sleep. Next morning, I noticed muddy footprints outside beneath the window. That's when the situation stopped feeling harmless. The prints looked wrong too. Long, narrow, almost barefoot. I remember crouching there staring at them while the cold wind moved through the grass. The woods behind the house suddenly felt much closer than before. I checked the property carefully after that. Nobody around, no cars, nothing. And honestly, part of me considered calling the police. But what was I supposed to say? Somebody knocked on my window? Instead, I bought motion lights and installed one overlooking the backyard. That night around 2 a.m., I stayed awake intentionally. TV off, bedroom dark, phone is in my hand, waiting. At exactly 2:17, the motion light outside switched on, and immediately afterwards, 3 knocks hit the glass. Knock, knock, knock. I sat frozen in bed, staring towards the now lit backyard outside my window. Nothing there. No person, no movement, but the knocking had clearly come from directly outside. Then slowly, the motion light shut off again. The backyard disappeared into darkness. And from somewhere farther back near the woods, I heard footsteps, moving away from the house. I barely slept that night. The next morning I checked the motion camera footage. At first everything looked normal. Empty backyard, wind moving grass slightly. Then, 2:17 a.m., the light switched on. And for maybe half a second before the footage distorted, something tall was standing directly beneath my window. Not looking at the camera, looking up towards my bedroom. The image glitched immediately afterwards. Static, pixelation, then darkness. I replayed the clip probably 20 times, and every time, the figure looked slightly different. Taller, closer, head tilted differently, like the image itself wasn't stable. That night I drove into town and stayed at a motel instead. Honestly, I felt stupid doing it, but I didn't care. The next morning my mom called asking why the motion light was still flashing on and off all night. That immediately made my stomach drop, because nobody should have been at the house. I drove back around noon. The backyard looked normal at first. Then I noticed muddy footprints circling the house. Not random footprints either. Paths. Like somebody had walked around the house over and over during the night. Stopped beneath every window. I almost left again immediately. But instead, I made another mistake. I asked my neighbor about the house. An older guy named Walter who lived down the road forever. The second I mentioned knocking at the windows, his expression changed. Not shocked, more like resigned. he quietly asked. Second floor bedroom? Every hair on my arm stood up. I asked how he knew. Walter stared towards the wood behind the property for several seconds before answering. Your grandfather used to hear it too. That honestly scared me more than anything so far, because until then, I still believed there had been a logical explanation. I asked Walter what was causing it. He shook his head slowly, then said something I still think about constantly. Don't answer it. I frowned. Answer what? Walter looked directly at me. The knocking changes eventually. That night I should have left. I know that now. But instead, I stayed. Mostly because part of me needed to understand what was happening. Around 2 a.m., I sat awake in bed holding my phone flashlight again, watching the window, waiting. At exactly 2:17, the motion light switched on outside. Then came the knocking. Only this time, it wasn't on the window. It was on the bedroom door. 3 slow knocks from the hallway outside. The station should have been closed. That's the first thing that bothered me. Not the empty platform, not the flickering lights, not even the train itself. The station should have been locked, but somehow it wasn't. There were 3 of us there that night. Me, my friend Jordan, and his girlfriend Becca. We'd gone downtown for a concert on Thursday night and stayed way later than we meant to. By the time we reached the subway station, it was raining hard and none of us wanted to walk back. So Jordan checked the transit app while he stood under the station entrance. Then quietly said, I think we missed the last train. Becca immediately groaned. I remember checking my phone. 12:47 a.m. The station website said service ended at 12:30. Jordan kept refreshing the app, hoping maybe delays extended the schedule somehow. Nothing. No arrivals, no active trains. At that point, we should have just left. But the rain was brutal. Cold wind, heavy sheets of water, almost nobody outside anymore. And weirdly, the station entrance lights were still on. Jordan shrugged and said, maybe maintenance trains still run. Honestly, none of us were thinking clearly. We were tired, cold, and annoyed. So we went inside. The escalator still worked. That immediately felt strange. The deeper we went underground, the quieter everything became. No announcements, no station music, nothing. Just the buzzing fluorescent lights overhead. The platform itself was completely empty. No workers, no security, nobody. I remember Becca looking around and quietly saying, this feels creepy as hell. She wasn't wrong. Everything felt wrong somehow. Not abandoned exactly, more like paused. Like the station had been frozen mid-operation after everybody disappeared. Jordan sat on one of the benches checking the transit app again while I wandered closer to the tracks. And honestly, that's when I noticed the smell. Burned metal. Very faint, like overheated wires. I remember asking, do subways always smell like this? Jordan shrugged without looking up. Then maybe 2 minutes later, we heard it. A train approaching. At first it sounded distant, then louder. Metal rattling through the tunnels, wind pushing through the station. Jordan immediately stood up smiling. No way! Becca frowned. The app still says no service. Then the headlights appeared around the tunnel curve. Only, something looked wrong immediately. The train was old, much older than normal city trains. Dark silver exterior, dim interior lights, and unlike normal subway trains, there was no advertisements or route signs anywhere on it. No destination display either, just blank metal. The train slowed as it entered the station, screeching loudly enough that everybody covered their ears. And honestly, the sound made my stomach tighten. Something about it felt wrong mechanically, like the train was struggling. Then it stopped directly in front of us. The doors opened immediately. Nobody got off. Nobody inside moved. At first I thought the train was empty. Then I realized there were passengers sitting inside, every single one motionless, facing forward. I remember feeling an instant wave of unease, because nobody looked at us, not one person. Jordan laughed nervously and said, okay, this is weird. Becca immediately whispered, I don't want to get on that. Honestly, I didn't either. The passengers looked strange. Not physically strange exactly, just wrong somehow. completely expressionless. And every single one sat perfectly still. No phones, no conversations, nothing. The doors remained open, waiting. Then suddenly, a voice came over the train speaker. Except it wasn't an announcement. It sounded distorted, broken, like somebody whispering through static. I couldn't understand most of it, except the final sentence. Last stop. Jordan looked toward us awkwardly and said, "Well, we either take this or walk in the rain." Nobody moved. Then one of the passengers slowly turned their head towards the platform. Just one. An older man sitting near the center of the car. And I swear to God, the second he looked at us, every instinct in my body screamed not to board that train. His expression was angry. It wasn't threatening. It was fear. Pure fear. Like he was trying to warn us without speaking. Becca immediately stepped backward. Nope. Jordan still hesitated, though. Then suddenly the lights inside the station flickered hard. Everything went dark for maybe half a second. And when the lights came back on, every passenger inside the train was now looking directly at us. All of them. Perfectly still. That moment hit me so hard physically I actually took a step backward. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Then the distorted speaker crackled again. Boarding complete. The door slammed shut instantly, and the train pulled away almost immediately afterwards. Faster than normal. Much faster. The wind from it hit hard enough to make Becca stumble slightly. Then, within seconds, it vanished back into the tunnel darkness. Silence again. Complete silence. I remember Jordan nervously laughing afterwards. The kind of laugh people make when they're genuinely uncomfortable. Then he quietly said, "What the hell was that?" Nobody answered. And honestly, I think all three of us wanted to leave immediately after that. But before we could, we overheard the speakers in the station suddenly turn on. Static filled the platform loudly enough to make everybody jump. Then a calm, automated voice said, "Attention passengers, the 12:45 service has been discontinued following the tunnel incident of November 18th, 1994. The three of us froze instantly, because that date was impossible. The announcement continued. All remaining passengers are presumed deceased. Then silence. Jordan actually laughed again at first, only this time it sounded forced. What kind of joke is this? But nobody answered, because honestly, we were all thinking the same thing. The train had looked old, very old. Becca immediately grabbed Jordan's arm. We're leaving. And this time nobody argued. We practically ran back towards the escalators, but halfway up, the station lights flickered again, then completely shut off. Everything went black. For maybe 3 seconds, all we could hear was breathing and distant tunnel noise. Then, far below us, we heard another train arriving. The weirdest part is that thousands of people saw it happen. Not live exactly, but close enough. There were 6 of us inside the factory that night. Me, my friend Gavin, his younger brother Ellie, and 2 girls named Marissa and Tori, and another guy everybody called Finch. The whole thing started as a stupid live stream idea. Gavin had been trying to grow his channel for months, mostly urban exploration stuff, abandoned buildings, old tunnels, places we definitely weren't supposed to be. Nothing supernatural. Honestly, most of his fake hype for views. Gavin loved exaggerating things. That's important, because before that night, I never once seen him genuinely scared. The factory sat outside Flint, near a dead industrial area everybody avoided after dark. Huge place, too. Multiple buildings, collapsed sections, old machinery everywhere. Apparently used to manufacture auto parts decades ago before shutting down after a fire. At least that's what Gavin told us while setting up cameras. The plan was simple. Go live around midnight, explore the factory for an hour, scare each other, leave. That was it. At first everything felt normal. Cold, dusty, creepy in the usual abandoned building way. Gavin carried the main camera while reading livestream comments out loud and joking around constantly. People watching kept daring us to split up, go deeper, turn lights off. Typical internet stuff. Most of us were laughing honestly, even when we found weird things inside, like old cafeteria trays still sitting on tables, employee lockers hanging open, one room still filled with burned office chairs from the fire. The place felt frozen in time. but not dangerous. At least not at first. Things changed when we reached the lower level. The stairs down there looked unstable as hell. Concrete cracked, rust everywhere, water dripping through ceilings. Marissa immediately said she wanted to stay upstairs. Honestly, she probably should have. The basement level was enormous. Long, dark corridors lined with machinery and storage rooms. And weirdly, warmer than upstairs. That bothered me instantly. Factories like that should be freezing. But the deeper we walked, the warmer the air became. At one point, Ellie actually joked, "Feels like somebody's running heaters down here." Nobody laughed much. The live stream comments started getting weird too. People kept asking, "Who's standing behind you?" At first, Gavin thought they were trolling. The comments kept repeating it over and over. "Behind you, behind you, behind you." Eventually, Gavin spun the camera around dramatically, trying to scare viewers. Nothing there. But honestly, that's when the mood changed. Nobody joked as much afterward. And every few minutes, somebody would glance behind them, just in case. About 20 minutes later, we found the hallway. I still think about the hallway constantly. Long, narrow corridor, concrete walls, only one flickering light working near the far end, and at the very end, a door, bright red, which made no sense because every other door in the building was gray steel. Ellie immediately wanted to open it. Marissa absolutely refused. Finch kept saying the whole thing looked staged somehow, but Gavin loved it. He kept grinning at the camera saying, "This is perfect." Then he walked down the hallway towards the red door, and honestly, I remember feeling nervous before anything ever happened. The hallway felt wrong. The deeper Gavin walked, the quieter everything became. Even the live stream audio changed. The viewers started commenting that the sound sounded distorted, almost underwater. Then Gavin reached the door. The camera shook slightly as he grabbed the handle, and for the first time all night, his expression changed. Not dramatically, just subtle confusion. He quietly said, "It's warm." The live stream heard him too. Thousands of comments started flying by instantly. "Open it! Open it! Open it!" Gavin hesitated for maybe 2 seconds, then pulled the door open. The room beyond was completely dark. No windows, no visible walls, just darkness. And somehow, the darkness looked wrong too. Hard to explain. Almost thick, like the flashlight beam wasn't reaching properly inside. Ellie laughed nervously and said, "Okay, screw that." But Gavin stepped inside anyway, still filming. The second he crossed the doorway, the live stream froze. Not fully disconnected, just stuttering. Pixelated, audio cutting in and out. I remember hearing Gavin's voice echo strangely through the phone speaker. Then suddenly, he stopped talking. The camera pointed deeper into the darkness for several seconds, and that's when we heard another voice inside the room. Quiet, calm. It said, "You came back." Every hair on my arm stood up instantly, because the voice didn't belong to any of us. Gavin backed out of the room immediately after that, and honestly, he looked terrified. Actually terrified. His face had gone pale. He kept saying, "We need to leave." No jokes, no live stream personality, nothing, just panic. That scared me more than his voice did, because Gavin never panicked. We started heading back immediately. Fast. Nobody argued. The live stream comments were exploding at that point. People clipping footage, asking what the voice said, saying they saw movement behind Gavin inside the room. Then halfway back through the basement, the lights shut off. Completely dark. Everyone started yelling at once, flashlights swinging everywhere. And during all the confusion, we realized Ellie was gone. At first we thought he was messing with us. Then Marissa started screaming his name. No response. The live stream camera was still running the entire time. You could hear all of us panicking. Gavin kept yelling, "Ellie, this isn't funny." And during all the confusion, we realized Ellie was gone. At first we thought she was messing with us. Then Marissa started screaming her name. No response. The live stream camera was still running the entire time. You could hear all of us panicking. Gavin kept yelling, "Ellie, this isn't funny." Nothing. Then from somewhere deeper in the basement, we heard Ellie's voice, very faint. She said, "Guys?" Relief hit instantly, until she spoke up again, because this time, her voice sounded wrong. Too slow, too flat, like somebody imitating her. Even Gavin froze. Then the voice quietly said, Come find me. Finch immediately whispered, "Nope," and honestly, I agreed with him. Every instinct in my body said we needed to leave immediately, but Gavin refused. That was his little sister. So against all logic, we started searching. The deeper we went, the warmer the basement became, and eventually we found ourselves back near the hallway with a red door. Only now, the door was open again, and Ellie was standing inside the darkness, completely motionless, facing us. Gavin yelled her name and ran forward immediately. Then Ellie slowly lifted her head and smiled. Not a normal smile either. Too wide. Too still. Then the live stream completely cut to black.